other. I love you, you're my baby. Love me too, you never try to change me. Did I tell you you're the one that saved me from my sorrow? Van holler, if I lead, you're sure to follow. And I will never leave you, by the way. By the way. Well, the very first memories I have of singing or playing are singing songs with my mom, singing folk songs and songs that we would make up about whatever was going on in our lives. And looking back, that's probably where my songwriting came from, I think. My mom's been a writer, creative writer, as long as I've been alive. And also singing with my brother. He started playing piano when he was 4, and he's just about 4 years older than me. So as long as I was around, my brother's been playing piano, and he would play a Jerry Lee Lewis song or Chuck Berry or Cyndi Lauper or Bruce Springsteen or whatever it was, and I would be the singer. Then in high school, I sang in choir, and for a brief period, I was the lead singer of a cover band with some friends of mine. Then after high school, my brother went on to college and eventually started a family and had a career in medicine, but kept playing guitar all the time. And I went to college, ended up being a teacher, but kept singing every time I had an opportunity, and eventually got a guitar in 2004 and started writing songs pretty immediately after that. Wrote my first song there in the spring of 2004. And just about a year later was when I did my first gig for money. Played an hour-long set after the open mic at a little place called Gable Square Saloon here in Birmingham. And ever since then, I've been playing as much as I can, as often as I can. I lived in Jackson, Mississippi from 2006 to 2009, and then moved back to Birmingham in 2009. I've been playing ever since then. In 2017, my brother and I kind of reconnected socially first after we'd kind of let ourselves drift apart a little bit. And then in 2020, I guess February, March is when we made our first plan to start getting together and doing a duo show, the two of us. Then, of course, the pandemic hit and everything came to a screeching halt, and we had to wait and figure out what we were going to do. 'Cause we are real magic. We are good people. From the gutter to the steeple, we call Birmingham home. My songwriting process it's different every time. You know, it's just like a lot of things. Every meal, every recipe, every time you make it's a little bit different. But there are some pretty significant steps that seem to happen every time. And it usually starts with a word or a phrase, or a few words. Sometimes it comes in big chunks. It just depends. But it seems to always start with words. And then from the words, I notice some kind of meter or rhythm. And from that comes some kind of melody. And then the melody dictates the chords. And everything pretty much flows from that. That seems to even be the way it goes when I co-write, which hadn't happened a whole lot, but usually the other person comes with lyrics, and I, again, figure out what kind of meter there is in the lyrics that I can work with, get some kind of structure from that, and then melody and chords coming from that. I would like to get to where I can write music first. I think that would be an interesting way to do it. A lot of the bands that I've looked up to, songwriters I've looked up to, do it that way sometimes or even all the time. And I've got some plans about how to kind of fake myself out and get myself to be able to do it that way. You know, I think being creative is all about showing up and seeing what you can do. And if you want something different than what you've been getting, then, you know, do something different from the beginning. Just tell me how you're feeling when your night is cold and dark. And I'll be right by you. I'll be right by you. I'll be right by you whenever I can. As far as this record goes, I guess it really started back in 2019. A friend of mine, Natalie Valentine, was invited to open a show for our friend Ham Bagby at the Nick here in Birmingham. And at the time, we didn't have any original music that we'd worked up in our duo. And so we decided to take several of my songs and change keys and change arrangements a little bit so that they'd work for Natalie. And in the process of doing that, I realized, or I guess I kind of reconnected with feeling like I was a songwriter that had a decent voice and had something to say and was pretty good at putting a song together. But I didn't really do much about it right then. And it wasn't until February of 2020 that I had something to say. I had, really wanted to make my mom feel better about having missed one of my shows because, obviously she can't make every one. But I wasn't able to do that just in a conversation. And so I ended up writing a song for her to let her know how I felt. And that seemed to have gotten things started. Then later on in the spring, I wrote another song, again, just because I had something to say to somebody, not really with any real intention behind it.
In the meantime, I'll assume you love me too. It's been so long, I don't know what we're fighting about. No right, no wrong. Let's get together and figure it out.
And then I guess the next step was after the statewide stay-at-home mandate was lifted in May of 2020, we were really fortunate to get offered some shows at a place called Slag Heap Brewery here in Birmingham, outdoor gigs where we could be, as safe as possible and get back to having some kind of music and some kind of socializing. Those shows ended up turning into me reimagining and rearranging a lot of my older material for a full band. Then later on in the fall, I was planning on playing a show at a friend's place outside of Jackson, Mississippi, a celebration for his mom. And I looked at the set list, and out of the 22 songs that we were going to be playing, 11 of them were my songs. And again, it was another one of those realization moments where I felt like, well, I've got 11 songs. That could be a whole set. I could do an entire show of just original music. I ended up getting COVID and I couldn't play that show. And while I was in isolation, it just kind of came all over me that I had never gotten myself into a position where I was putting enough of my music out there and taking enough risks with it that I was a little scared. And I can't remember who the quote is. I think maybe it's Kurt Vonnegut that said, if your aspiration isn't putting you in positions where you feel scared, then you're not pushing hard enough to get wherever it is you want to go. And I decided right then that I was gonna get scared, and decided that I'd start recording the album in January. As far as recording this album goes, I would have loved to, what they call tracking it from the floor, tracking it on the floor, where we take the full band in and do it just like it was a live performance and track things, and then go back and add overdubs and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, between the limitations of the pandemic and the fact that we just hadn't been working together long enough to really be able to do that comfortably, we instead decided to get Brett Huffman, our drummer, and myself in the studio and just do rhythm guitar and drums to a click track live for each song. And then come behind and bring Eric Onimus, our bass player, in to lay bass down. Then after that, we spent a day with my brother George Hipp and myself and my good friend Adam Purvis on fiddle, going through and doing guitars, dobro, fiddle tracking, that sort of stuff. Then after that, we were incredibly fortunate to be able to have Matt Slocum come in and play keys, do a pretty long session, one-day session, doing different keyboard sounds, which was just a great experience. The session after that was a really cool session also. We had two of the three horn players from St. Paul and the Broken Bones, Chad Fisher and Alan Brandstetter, joined by one of my very favorite saxophone players of all time, Gary Wheat, coming in and putting horns on 4 songs. Include some solos, just everything that I wanted them to do and more is what we were able to get done during that session. It was really cool. The last session was a session with strings, and between horns and strings, we did background vocals. And the background vocals were Natalie Valentine, who sings with us regularly, and Toy Matthews, who's a fantastic singer here in Birmingham, doing everything from theater to all kinds of different styles of musical performance. Really lucky to have her and Natalie as well on that session. And the string quartet was Patty Pylan on cello, Melanie Richardson-Rogers on viola, Neve Tui on violin, and also Adam Purvis on violin. And that string arrangement was put together by Dr. Gary Smoke, who's the organist that I've worked with in the past at Mountain Brook Presbyterian Church.
I get outside, guess who I see? He sees my guitar and he says to me, and he says, pick up your guitar, play, play, pick up your guitar, play, play, pick up your guitar and play, till the night turns into day, till the night turns into day.
One thing I got to say about the album So Long, really happy to have local Birmingham artist Yogi Dada creating a painting for the album cover that we'll then digitize, and that'll be the album art. So I'm really excited about that. As luck would have it, I kept writing. Kind of sometimes when you ask the faucet to turn on, it's hard to turn it off, and luckily so. Kept writing and had enough songs to go up to my friend James Wood's place outside of Nashville and record a 4-song EP called Reflection. And the process has gone really, really well. We're just about finished with that and are hoping to have that out by July of this year, 2021. And then the full band album, So Long, we're hoping to put that out by the end of the summer or early fall of this year.
She ain't afraid of getting in a fight, that's right. I bet she wouldn't even miss me. She drinks whiskey. I'll never forget that night at the bar. Look in her eyes, said I wouldn't get far. Then she turned around and kissed me. Oh, she drinks whiskey.